Hello there! In this first part of our two-part episode, we're going to begin exploring page editing by setting up a new project space. Let's jump in. Here we are in the space directory. Each space is a container for related information. This simple framework allows us to split up the information that our company relies on into logical chunks. When you separate your company information into logical spaces, it's easy to link pages in one space to pages in another. You can also apply simple labels to pages or any other content, including file attachments, which ties together related information across multiple spaces. Watch our episode on the power of labels to learn more. Let's begin our example by creating a space for a new project. Our project involves our design, product engineering, and testing teams. We need a space for these teams to build their project documentation, attach files, create meeting notes, and to organize product requirements and tasks. We also need a blog to communicate project updates and news. You may not have the permission required to create a space yourself, but follow along as this will help you understand more about spaces and how they operate. In my space directory, I click on the Create Space button, which pops up the Create Space box. From here, I have a choice of several space templates containing different features to help me get started. For example, we need to create a project space to be used for the design and build of a new product. The blank space allows us to choose any content types that we need after the space is created. The documentation space template simplifies the process of building complex technical documentation or manuals for our products or services. This template organizes how-to articles. The knowledge base will let us build an online help and support system, allowing us to store and organize solutions to common problems that we find with our products or services. This template organizes troubleshooting articles. The team space is a good starting point when we know at least some of the people we're going to be working with. It helps us set up our space permissions for individual users and includes a blog for communicating project and team updates. I'm going to select the team space template to start our new project, as this seems closest to our needs. Our project is for a new product called Game Station, so we'll use this for our space name. The space key will form the last part of the website address for this space. I'm going to change this to Game Station to make it more memorable for people. The Team Members section will place a team list on the space homepage and set up space permissions for these users. It's important to add a clear description for our space. This helps all of our colleagues browsing in the space directory to understand what this space contains. When we hit the Create button, our new space is set up for us. On the left of the page is the sidebar. As we create content in the space, the sidebar automatically builds a navigation structure for our pages and other content. The Pages link shows us a list of recently updated pages and a page tree browser. These are both useful for finding content. The questions and calendar links are optional add-ons for Confluence, so you might not have these on your own Confluence site. On our space homepage, we have a handy guide to the next steps to take in building our space. The first suggestion is to edit our homepage, so let's start there by clicking on the Edit button. The first thing we're going to change is the welcome message to give some useful information to visitors to our space. These sections on the page will help get you started, but you can remove whatever you don't need. In the About Us section, I'll add some information for visitors about the teams involved in this project. Now, simply publish the page. Editing pages is a non-destructive process. This means that whenever you edit and publish changes to any page, even if you delete content on the page itself, the page will not be overwritten. Instead, a new version of the page is created. The original version of the page, before any editing changes were made, is always retained as an older version. To see all the versions of this page that exist, click on the Page menu button and select Page History. In Page History, we can see that we now have two versions of this page. All previous versions of the page remain completely unchanged. This allows us to restore any previous versions of our page whenever we need to. We can also compare any two versions and see the differences between them. Back on our homepage, as we added some team members when we created the space, they are also listed on our homepage. This can really help visitors to our space to find the right person to contact. The Team Space template also creates default space permissions for these team members. We can check these by clicking the Space Tools button and selecting Permissions. Our team members and the person who created the space are all listed in the Individual Users section. If required, we can adjust any of these permissions. In the Groups section, notice the group name Confluence Users. This group literally means all Confluence users in our organization. It is normally included automatically when we create a space. By including this group, other users in our company can browse inside this space and see updates on the dashboard, such as blog posts or content changes. Confluence is an information sharing and collaboration platform. However, there may be times when you might need a more private space. If we wanted to make this space private and accessible only by the individual users in our team, simply edit and change the permissions for the All Confluence Users group or any individual users that you want to remove, and uncheck all of their permissions. When you press the Save button, the group or the user will disappear. This will block their access entirely to the space. They will also not see anything on the dashboard related to the space, such as updates or blog posts. If you do make a space private by removing groups or individual users, just be careful not to remove yourself. Otherwise, the space could become locked, even to you. Your Confluence site administrator will be able to unlock the space for you, but that could be embarrassing. Watch our episode on space permissions and page restrictions for more information. Back on our homepage, to kick off our project, I'll write a blog post by selecting the blog link from the sidebar, then clicking the Create Blog Post button. Blogs are a great way to share things like project information and updates. We use blog posts for our regular project update reports. These are short summaries from our team leaders, which let people know how our projects are progressing and what our teams are currently working on. Before Confluence, this was done using email, which creates bottlenecks and is not very transparent. Using blogs, our reports become simpler to produce and remain permanently attached to each space. They remain visible instead of getting lost in email. The blog post will show up on the Confluence dashboard for other users to view. This generates feedback from our teams through comments and likes. If you need to restrict who can see the blog post for security or to reduce spam, you can do this by clicking on the Page Restrictions padlock on the top of the page. The last thing I'm going to do with this blog post is include a request that all of our other team members use the Game Station label on any page content or attachments related to our project. Labels cross the boundaries between spaces. Sometimes team members may need to make changes to pages or other content in seemingly unrelated spaces, but for reasons related to our project. Labeling content, which only takes a moment to do, ties all related content together. It also makes content visible to macros that have a label option, which allows them to look across our entire Confluence site, such as the task report. Labeling content this way is one of the best habits to get into. Watch our episode on the power of labels for more information. Back on our homepage, let's add some content to get us started. As our project involves our design, product engineering, and testing teams, I'll create a starting page for each of these. This helps build the page tree structure using parent and child pages to organize our space. Next, as this is a new product, I'll add the product requirements template to the space by clicking on the Create from Template button. This enables our team to break down the large project into a number of individual requirements and then match these requirements to individual tasks. We also need to build a user guide for this product. So next, I'll select the How-To template. I need to create an initial how-to article to start our new documentation section. I'll call this first how-to article the installation guide and label it with our Game Station label. Then, when the how-to page is created, I'll simply publish it. We can come back to the article later to complete it. Next, to organize our meeting notes, which will generate a task list, I'll click again on the Create from Template button and select the Meeting Notes template. I'll call this our Project Startup Meeting and add my attendees. Once I have my meeting note as I want it, we simply publish. You can find more information in our episode called Easy Task Management and Meeting Notes. Now, we've one last thing to do. If you look in the sidebar, you'll notice that some of our pages are out of order. The first time you use any page templates, for example the meeting note template, which creates 2 pages when first used, these pages can end up in the wrong order. New pages are always created directly underneath the location of the current page that you have open. So, reordering pages is something that you will need to do from time to time, but it's quite easy. To do this, just click on the Space Tools button and select Reorder Pages. The Game Station Requirements page, I simply drag underneath the Product Requirements main page. The Installation Guide page, I can drag to the main How-To Articles page. And finally, our Project Startup Meeting Note can be dragged underneath the main Meeting Notes page. When we look again at the sidebar, our page order is looking good. Each of these template pages contains its own button for creating more of the same type of content. By using these buttons for creating content, new pages will always remain nested correctly under the main page. Nesting pages this way is called parent and child nesting. It's neat, but it also allows you to easily restrict access to groups of pages or move groups of pages with just a few clicks. Whatever happens to the parent page also happens to the children nested underneath. And that's us. We've created a new project space, set up space permissions, edited our homepage, added content, created a blog post, and reorganized our sidebar. In our next episode, we'll go deeper into page editing. Until then, enjoy and have fun.